Welcome back to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called Don't Care What You Do. Back in late 2020, when everyone was working from home, I was tasked with upgrading office PCs. This involved removing each hard disk drive, HDD, setting it aside, replacing the PC with a newer model that uses a solid-state drive, SSD, transferring all documents and images from the HDDs to the SSDs with a special USB setup of my very own, and disposing of the old HDDs per the project manager's orders, as you see fit. Now, because there was no one else in the building, so I thought I had all 20 new PCs lined up in the shipping area, with the old HDDs on a card, ready to be copied over. The assistant project manager, APM, walked in, maskless of course, and wanted to know what the heck I was doing. Before I could get 3 words out, he tells me to remove my mask. I stepped back, removed my mask, and tried again. He interrupted me again to ask what the heck these hard drives are doing here. I tried to explain, and he interrupted me one more time to tell me he doesn't care about my excuses and to just get rid of them. Just as I was about to try once more, he tells me he doesn't care how I do it, just to get rid of them. Throw them in the dumpster or take them home, for all I care. And to get those PCs installed immediately. Cue the malicious compliance. Sir, yes sir. I put my mask back on and wheeled the cart of HDDs out to my SUV, parked near the dumpster, and loaded the crate into the back. Then I went back inside and delivered each new PC as instructed. The old PCs had already been palletized and were slated to be picked up by an old electronic surplus business. After all this, I drove home, prepared a pizza, cracked open a cold one, and started my weekend. The following Monday, I felt lousy. The test showed positive. I had already gotten everything, so my doc told me to just stay home and monitor my symptoms. I logged in remotely and sent the "I got it" email, then checked my inbox. The first new email I saw was from the assistant, reiterating his orders to me almost word for word. The second email was from him to his boss and the rest of the engineering staff, claiming full credit for getting the new PCs installed in record time. After an hour or so, I started seeing emails from different people, asking where their files were. Of course, I did a reply all, and included a screenshot of the first email. All broke loose. The dumpster had already been emptied by the time anyone got to it. Important files were missing, and presumed destroyed. The assistant called me on speakerphone and told me to come in and fix everything. Sorry boss, but I'm showing symptoms and my test is positive. Unless you are willing to empty the building and then disinfect it afterwards, I had better stay home. His boss chimed in and told me to stay home, get well, and call if I need anything. Okay boss, I'll see what I can do about this mess from home. I continued to work from home for that week, mostly copying each HDD's documents and images to the relevant PC. Even though there were a few glitches, I was able to get everything back in order. I told the assistant's boss my side of the story and received a token reprimand. The APM was dismissed. I retired a few years later. The next story is called As Written in the Contract. I used to work in a workshop where sheds were produced for farms and businesses. I was brought on as a general laborer whose tasks were to clean and maintain the yard and workshop, clean and spray steel, and to load up the truck with any completed sheds. When I first joined the company, there were 3 other workers there who had their own jobs to complete. One person's job was to make flashings for the sheds. One person would run the saws and fabricate any plates and cleats needed. And then there was a welder. Slowly but surely, the other workers began to quit due to finding better paying jobs in different companies. And eventually, I was the last worker there and had to run everything by myself, which I had no issue in doing, as I prefer to be able to work by myself. One day I needed welding wire, and normally it would have been the boss's job to go and pick up any materials or supplies I needed. But on this day the boss was away, delivering a shed. So I went out of my way to go and pick up the welding wire myself, so I could get a job finished that was behind schedule. Issues arose when I informed the boss that he needed to pay me back for the wire, as I had to pay for it out of pocket. I was told that I shouldn't be doing anything that's not written in my contract, and that I won't be getting the money back for the wire, as he never agreed to pay for it. So I went back to my original duties that I had when I first joined the company. After a few days of this, he came into the yard, screaming at me as there were no sheds being manufactured. I told him that he better get hiring, as I won't be doing anything out of my job's description, like he stated for me to do. After 2 weeks of this, he hired a new worker who had no idea how to do anything. He tried to get me to train him, but I wouldn't, as that was going out of my job description. This went on for about 3 weeks, before the company ended up going into liquidation due to the boss failing to file accounts for the past 4 years. The last story is called Height Regulations. The house my mom lives in now was formerly rented to our grandmother, who passed around the time my parents got divorced a couple of years ago. My parents had built the house in 1990, at around the same time as an older woman did on the neighboring property. Let's call that woman Rita. When I was a toddler, we lived in the same house as my grandmother, but then moved. I still remember that something was always a bit odd about Rita, and she was particular. Her house smelled stale and of old shoes stored in a wet basement, and she has been a teacher before retirement, a strict one, judging by her personality. Her whole property is fenced in, and at the front gate there is no bell. As far as I know, you'd have to yell and hope she was home if you'd wanted something from her, or climbed the fence. Rita always had her own opinions, and was strange when it came to cars from visitors, or even vehicles from the plumber or handyman, parked in the tiny cul-de-sac our houses were located around. When my sister and I got old enough to drive a car, and we'd parked at the side of said cul-de-sac, or there was a birthday gathering, you could bet that Rita would get her car out of her garage on her property and park it outside of her fence as well. Everyone would have to squeeze their car around hers then. She does it to this day, just to make a point, I guess. When my grandmother passed and my mom renovated the whole house to not have it remind my mom of her, Rita would give her unwelcome 2 cents and made terrible statements you just don't want to hear during such a difficult time. Rita did many more things in her own form of demonstration of disapproval, or she would phrase criticism like a well-meant comment. The day comes when my mom orders big metal plates, around 1 by 2 meters, with long stilts to hold them upright, just at her side of the fence to Rita's garden. The fence is low and doesn't block the view. This sort of metal is supposed to oxidize as garden decoration, and with a second purpose of creating a divider while the hedge was still growing. Here there are many regulations for everything, some more sensible and logical than others. One of them is that for such metal dividers to be installed, you need your neighbor's approval when they are 2 meters or higher and located between your properties. My mom had no intention of asking Rita, because she would say no. Not that Rita asked when she planted her stuff right at the fence, and it grew into my mom's flower beds. A family friend dug up the holes, filled them with concrete, and erected the metal dividers at exactly 1.99 meters height. This way, my mom was complying with the laws and would have easily denied any accusation if Rita would have taken issue with the new additions. They were under the 2-meter mark after all. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. Also, if you want to support me further, check out the channel membership or Patreon. And now I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.